Welcome to Defying Conventionalism with Tehdy B. Cosplay and Mera Rose.
Well, happy Yule, y'all. Were you expecting the holidays to come up this quick? A little crazy, right? Well, today we've got Writers of Cosplay, our episode 2, featuring, of course, Canon Publishing's J.F. Holmes and Elizabeth Murphy-Spivey, cosplayer extraordinaire. And then we've also got Sterling Bailey of Vorian Cosplay and Cap for Kids. But first...
Narf, Brain, what are we doing tonight? Another attempt to take over the world?
No, Pinky. This time we're not going for global domination. I've come up with something far more insidious. We're entering a cosplay contest.
A cosplay contest? You mean we get to dress up? Ooh, like in costumes? With, like, cool superhero stuff?
Exactly. And not just any costumes, Pinky. We're going to create the most impressive and innovative cosplays the world has ever seen. You see, Pinky, cosplay is not just about wearing a costume. It's about dedication, creativity, and, most importantly, winning the contest.
Ooh, I love costumes! Like, if I could be anyone, I'd totally be a giant cupcake with sprinkles!
That's not quite the level of sophistication I was going for, Pinky. We need to think more strategically. You see, the cosplay community is a competitive force. The fans, the judges, the photographers, they worship creativity. We must infiltrate their ranks, earn their respect, and then, when they least expect it, use our newfound influence to seize power.
Arf, so we get to dress up and take over the world? Double the fun, Brain. You're a genius.
I know. The cosplay contest is the perfect cover. While everyone is busy admiring my perfect rendition of Darth Vader, I'll be secretly building a device that will allow me to control the minds of everyone in the audience. The perfect plan, Pinky.
Ooh, I like mind control, Ray. Wait, you know, Brain, I always wanted to be a superhero. Maybe I could be like Spider-Pinky.
Spider-Pinky? You're not helping, Pinky. This isn't about dressing up as ridiculous characters. This is about the art of cosplay. The fine art of creating something so stunning, so perfect, that no one can resist it. That is how we win.
But Brain, I thought the contest was about fun. I mean, everyone wants to be part of something, right? I mean, cosplay is like a giant party. People come together, show off their creativity, and celebrate their favorite characters. It's all about the enthusiasm, right?
Sigh. It's true, Pinky. The cosplay community does have a certain enthusiasm. But that's precisely why I'm entering the contest. They think it's all about fun, but really, it's about gaining influence. You don't understand, Pinky. You see, they're a passionate group. They value accuracy, creativity, and, most of all, dedication. And if I can show them that I am the most dedicated, the most skilled, well then the power of the entire cosplay community will be mine.
So you're saying that if we win, we get the respect of a bunch of fans dressed up as robots and aliens and dinosaurs?
Exactly, Pinky. And once we have their respect, we can manipulate their creativity to make them do anything we want. We'll control the world's conventions. We'll control the flow of merchandise. We'll have an army of fans at our beck and call.
So we're like cosplay overlords.
Precisely. And I will be the ultimate cosplay mastermind. I shall dress as Iron Man, but with a better suit, a more intimidating presence, and a genius intellect. The judges won't be able to resist. I'll win the contest, and they'll all fall under my control.
Well, Brain, don't you think everyone else will be, like, all super serious about it? Like, there'll be people with super fancy armor and blazing lights on their costumes. What if we don't win?
Oh, Pinky, don't you see? The key to a successful cosplay isn't just the suit, it's the performance. I'll make an entrance so grand, so overwhelming, that they'll have no choice but to crown me the champion. I'll be the cosplay king.
Like a king? With a crown? Can I be your jester?
No, Pinky. You're going to be my assistant. You'll be the Waldo to my Where's Waldo. You'll wear a simple costume and assist me in all of my genius endeavors. But remember, Pinky, your role is critical. You'll be the one who distracts the other contestants with your adorable naivete. While they're distracted by your nonsense, I'll win, and the world will be ours.
Wait, Brain. What if we don't win? What if they think my costume is too silly? What if they laugh at me? Or worse, what if they don't laugh? What if they think I'm not funny?
Relax, Pinky. The only thing silly about this plan will be the moment that we take over the world. But the good news is, even if we don't win the contest, there's always next year, and the year after that, and the year after that, until the world is under our command.
Right, Brain. And remember, when you're a cosplay king, you always get the best seats at the convention. Narf.
Exactly, Pinky. Now, let's get to work. Our first order of business is perfecting our costumes. If we're going to win the hearts and minds of the cosplay community, we need to be the best. And with my genius and your enthusiasm, it's as good as ours.
So I'll go make my cupcake costume. It'll be deliciously cute.
Please, Pinky, just stick to your Waldo role. I'll handle the costumes and the world domination.
Tune in next time when Pinky and the Brain enter the World Cosplay Championships. Will they win the contest and the world? Or will Pinky's love for cupcakes ruin their plan? Find out next time on Tehdy B. Pinky and Mera Brain.
And I'm Mera Rose of Shimmer and Shade Family Cosplay, and with me as always is the amazing
Tehdy B cosplay.
and Tehdy. We got some amazing people with us here today too.
We absolutely do. Over in our, oh my gosh, in our, I know it's like trying to figure out where people are. We have Sterling Bailey over here, along with Elizabeth Murphy-Spivey and JF Holmes.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. Well, I feel like we should probably start with the author because that's kind of where it all begins. So, John, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, what books you've written?
Sure. So I've been writing since about 2013. I've got, well, a number of books out that changes when I decided to rewrite everything and, republish. But myself, I probably have about 15 to 20 books out. Two-time Dragon finalist, 2017. Yay. Back before it became a corporate contest. Anyway, sorry, I'm not referring to anything specifically, right? About 3 or 4 years ago, I decided that I wanted to help. I'm a veteran, and a lot of veterans came to me and said, hey, you're successful writing. How can I be? And I said, well, I want you guys to learn without having to go through all the hard process of doing it yourself like I did. And I formed Canon Publishing, and we've been going kind of gangbusters for the last 2 years or so. We've got 30-something books out, mostly started off with military science fiction. We do military fantasy. We're branching out into fantasy this year. If anybody wants to cosplay any of our fantasy characters, cool. So we'll have a number of books coming out in that sector, and that's who I am. It's what I do. And I have a full-time job, too, because, right? It's business. So that's what I mean.
We all got to have full-time jobs. It's not like any of this pays the bills entirely anymore, right?
No, I know maybe someday. Maybe someday. So I have about a dozen authors who are currently have books with me or who are in the process of writing. So it's canonpublishing.us. Hey, there's my shout out.
You go.
Yeah. Feel free, ask me whatever questions you guys want to ask, and I'll give you whatever answers I can make up. That's what writers do.
We might very well make you regret that statement, but in the meantime. So we also have with us the amazing Elizabeth Murphy-Spivey, cosplayer extraordinaire. So
Oh,
aw, I love everything you do. I swear, every time I see you in something, I'm like, oh my God, she inspires me so much. So I would love for you to tell our audience exactly who you are and what you do so they know why you inspire us.
I mean, I'm mostly just a muggle. I'm like a full-time working mom, but I realized that I just liked making costumes not long ago. I'm not very competitive. I'm not a professional costumer. I don't even have like a cosplay handle. I just do it because I like it. I learned to sew when I was probably really honestly 6 or 7, and it's kind of neat. Like my grandmother and my great grandmother, like they were all very, very crafty, and so it's neat to kind of be the scion of the textile arts in the family. Nobody else really got involved in it. But, I will tell you, since we're talking about literary, like I was that kid. I learned to read at a bananas early age. And like, I was that kid, like I wanted to be sent to my room because that's where all the books were,
Yes.
At like 10 o'clock at night, like, oh, it's time for bed. I'm like, okay, one more chapter. But I mean, the books that I loved, some of the ones that I loved the most were the ones in which the authors like lovingly, descriptively went into every detail of what the characters were wearing, and a lot of them were historical, like 1700s. Or one of my favorite series was like the Betsy Tacy books, which take place in Edwardian like America. Yeah, in Minnesota, actually. And so I grew up with these beautiful descriptions. And it was such an amazing aha moment much later in life when I was just ground down by corporate America and grad school and having a baby. And I woke up one morning and realized like I could do this thing for me. You can do something just because it's fun and it makes you happy. So it was just very powerful one day, being able to wake up and just make cool dresses and wear them and hang out with neat people while I do it. So again, I think of myself less as a cosplayer and more as somebody who just likes to make pretty things and hang out with cool people when I get to wear them.
That is awesome. What's really funny is you're talking about all of this, and I'm going, wow, there are so many parallels. Because I same here. Like you're talking about the book series. I have read that one. I don't remember it, but that's because of the fact that I think I read it before I was 15,
Yeah,
and I don't. I don't remember a lot of those things now.
Go back and reread. Like some things you go back later in life and you read them and you're like, oh, I liked this.
Yeah.
And some things don't translate well into some of our more common sensibilities. The Betsy Tacy books will always be fabulous.
Yes.
You can read a lot of like humanity into older books. Like nothing much has changed. We just have better ways to describe it and sometimes better ways to treat it now. But it's neat to look back and be like, these girls lived 100 years ago, but like they're just girls like me,
So I'm going to put a pause on that because I actually want to come back to it. But we do also need to introduce Mr. Sterling Bailey. So Sterling, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure thing. Thank you for having me on. I love cosplay. I'm a cosplayer and started about 10 years ago doing this. And my motivation was to help children who are fighting cancer. And so at the beginning of my cosplay journey was trying to become Captain America for the kids and learning how to make a shield and learning how to sew and learning how to do all of this stuff. And so that started like 10 years ago. And through that process of cosplayed video games, anime, things from books all over the place, manga and just regular books. And then through that journey, I started a nonprofit organization, which we can talk about in a little bit. And it's been just a great journey. But like Elizabeth said, I love dressing up and becoming these characters and bringing them into life and then hanging out with super cool people who think like I do, who have the same passions, that sort of thing. And I love making the art of creation is, and we all do that on this,
Yes.
on this call. So it's a magical thing and I absolutely love it.
And that's one of my favorite things with cosplay in general is that we do get to become that character, and especially in your case, becoming that character for other people. And it's such a powerful thing. So.
I think that's one of the things that I love, and Elizabeth was just touching on it a little bit. When we talk about the things that drive us to make these characters, right? It comes from a passion. It's something that we find and we go, oh my gosh, that's amazing. It's like one of the first characters I ever cosplayed, if you can truly call it cosplaying at that age, was Wonder Woman. Because who doesn't want to be Wonder Woman for Halloween, right? Yeah, of course, now I do not cosplay at Halloween. I throw on a witch's hat and hand out candy, and the whole neighborhood goes, wait, but we came to see our costumes. I'm like, nope, hat today.
So real. So real.
but after, because I loved comic books, but I also loved I love the written word more than that. I was kind of like Elizabeth. I learned to read way too early. My grandmother started teaching me, I think, before I could walk. And so the first book series that I remember, and after Wonder Woman, that I cosplayed from was Anne of Green Gables, because I was a carrot type. And so it was nice to find a character that I could actually identify with. So, I think one of the amazing things about these stories is when you're reading a really, really well-written character, especially one that it is written as descriptively as Anne and other characters are, you get this image in your head. And I always wonder if the image that we get in our head matches up with what the writers actually were trying to put forth. So, John, how do you guys come up with these characters? What motivates you to define how a character looks? Like, what kind of things do you consider in this process?
Well, first off, I'm going to say I was a big comic book fan when I was a kid too, but it was Conan the Barbarian, and you will never see me running around under a lion club with a sword, okay? Especially now.
I love Conan. That's awesome.
But no, I'm not going to cosplay that.
You totally could.
I support.
You probably could. Yeah.
I'm more Terry Pratchett Barbarian than at this age than probably have it. But no, so first of all, my first original books, the main character is always me, right? Not me specifically. I am not some gun-toting hero or anything like that. But I write, especially my post-apocalyptic series, what would I do in that situation, right? So, and this may be counterintuitive to what you guys are getting at, I never put a description of what my main character looked like, other than he was a mid-30s senior non-commissioned officer in the National Guard. I never described him, ever, right? And the point to that is, well, A, it's me, but B, I want the reader to put themselves in as the main character, right? Oh, that could be me, right? Now, the hero of the female hero of the story, I gave a little bit of visual for her. She has red hair and icy blue eyes, but nothing else, right? Because it evokes a certain image, but you could be that person yourself, right? Now, I did happen to put Karen on the first cover because she's the one that dared me to write in the first place, right? So that everybody always thinks that, hey, that's the character from the story. No, that just happens to be Karen, right? But as I've gotten further into my career, I've been a little more descriptive, especially since I write, science fiction stuff too. When you have an alien or something like that, you have to kind of lay it on the line. What is that alien? But I'm not trying to say, it's not my style of writing to go in depth and detail to what kind of bodice Claire wore when she went through the stones or something like that, right? And how it glistened and all that other stuff. Okay, if I wrote romance, I'd make money, but I unfortunately don't, right? So what I would see, what somebody could concentrate on as a cosplayer for my books, they can fit themselves into the image of any of the characters in the book. I mean, obviously, gender does play a bit of a role, right? But that doesn't mean you can't be a character in a unit that happens to be who you are, right? So you could take the uniforms or the Space Marine uniforms or anything like that. That I get a little more descriptive of because people love equipment and technicalities and stuff. But you can do that, and as long as you have something identifying on you, like the unit flash, I would be like, that's a great cosplay of my guys, right? I try and make it inclusive so people can fit themselves into the story. I don't know if that makes any sense,
Oh,
but
sure.
That's just my
100%,
style.
yeah.
Yeah, I have other writers who they will describe down in minute detail, you know, what type of weapon somebody carries, how tight their uniform is, the body armor they wear. In fantasy, you know, he had frills coming out of his throat, and you know, at frills I meant like, you know, the old 1970s tuxedo kind of stuff, right? They get down in depth, and I'm fine with that. That's great. It draws a great picture for people. I think the reverse of it is that you're never going to actually look exactly like Claire from Outlander, because that's another problem. We write these books, and Netflix calls me up and offers me millions of dollars, and they say we're going to put this person in as the character. And then the character itself is no longer what we wrote or had in mind. It's what the TV people had in mind to create, to bring our character to life. And no, Netflix has never called me and offered me $5 million. That would be great.
Not yet. You'll get there.
Not yet.
Yet.
Give it a few years.
So it's kind of a reverse from, I think, of what you were asking. How do I describe these characters? I honestly, I really don't. Me personally, as a writer, because like I said, you know, if you said you wanted to cosplay Britt O'Neill, I would be like, okay, go get some bright contact lenses and dye your hair red, and then you can go to town and do whatever else you want, right? You know, leather jacket to keep from getting bit by zombies, gun in your hand, all that kind of stuff, right?
I was going to say, Elizabeth. Yeah, both Elizabeth and I both got you. We got the red.
Right.
I
So
think we both got the blue. I might be wrong.
I have the ready to go.
put a patch over your eye because she got her eye poked out at once.
See, that's a descriptive detail, though.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's an event. So then, but here's the thing that comes down to this: we also have to put covers out,
Right.
And covers can determine, what exactly forms in people's mind as an image. So that kind of does, bring things down a little bit. So, but then again, my redhead looks completely different on all three different colors, all four covers that I have. Everybody can look at her and say, hey, there's a girl from the story, but it's just a redheaded woman, and I make her fit into the story. So
I like the fact that, you leave your characters open to interpretation so much that they can literally become original concept role plays or cosplays. Sorry. I don't know why I just said role play.
Yeah.
I'm having that moment. But I mean, Elizabeth has done some really phenomenal original concept, spins off of characters. And the one that actually is jumping to mind the fastest for me is the Raven. But
Yes.
you've done so many that were so beautiful. What kind of drove you into doing those, OCs in the cosplay? What informed your choices? What kind of things did you take into consideration?
So when I first started, I did a couple of the obligatory copies. Like I did one from Game of Thrones, I did one from Lord of the Rings, and it sparked no joy. I didn't connect with the character. I didn't enjoy copying somebody else's work. And it's funny, I think that cosplay, as long as you are wearing clothing, cosplay can and should be exactly as much or as little as you want it to be for you. Like if you want to build a mecha suit, that's great. I have a friend who literally just wears a sign on his neck that says, I'm a hobbit and I'm going on an adventure. That's his cosplay. And
that's awesome.
Both of these things are wonderful, right? But I realized that after making a couple of things and just not feeling connected to it, I was like, maybe I'm just not meant to make these costumes. Maybe this isn't right. But then something happened and something popped up and I was like, this time, screw it. Like, I don't care. I'm going to use all the like, I'm really, really, really irresponsible about going to Joann Fabric when they have their $1.99 pattern days. And I will buy 10. Like, I just have boxes of patterns everywhere. It's completely out of control. Like it's almost like a chemical like addiction. I just one more. I'm gonna make it this time, guys. I'm gonna make it. Yeah.
I actually just looked over to see if my wife was on screen here or actually still in the kitchen.
No, it's like we are all bad.
This is just what we are. She's calling all of us out.
Ones and they're cheap when they're $1.99.
Yes.
Anyway. So here's is my thing. Like, I have kind of a weird process in which I rarely pick a character and then make it. Usually I do like the gathering process and then the character picks itself. And it's funny that you bring up the Raven. That is exactly what happened with the Raven. And Sterling's heard this story because he got to see my stuff up close and hear the whole story about it. But the way the Raven came about is that I made the skirt for one thing and I was like, that's fine. And then I made the overskirt and I was like, this is cute, but whatever. And then I made like the base part of, I was like, you know what, I could make this a Victorian. So I made the bodice and I was like, it's fine. And I started adding crap to it because the more is more when it comes down to Victorian. Fabric. I knew I wanted to do a literary. I had some things in mind. I walk into Joanne Fabric one day and I saw the feather, I found this laser cut feather fabric, like, like these 3D feathers. And in the middle, I'm eating my own hair. I'm so excited about it. Sorry. In the middle of the store, it hit me. I want to be the Raven. I want to be Edgar Allan Poe's the Raven. And all it took, like, I had the different elements together, but when I saw the feather fabric, like, I knew that was the moment. Like, it hit me. So I would encourage anybody who is even like thinking about dabbling in lit cosplay. I like it more. I like doing my own things more. I like having the freedom to make any choices that I want to and not be like, oh, I don't like the gold trim, but it was the gold trim in the movie, so I have to do the gold trim, Instead, if you looked at my phone, I'm embarrassed about this. I have probably 70 photo albums on my phone where like I'd be looking through like a Metropolitan Museum article on the House of Worth, or I would be flipping through like, you mentioned, we're talking about Oz, like Ozma of Oz is like repetition. Like I've done 5 different versions. I have another one coming out next year. Like I'm obsessed with Ozma of Oz. So I like found every like illustration of Ozma that I could, and I have an Ozma folder just in case one day like I see the right dress and I'm like, oh, that can be an Ozma. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I encourage people to find their inspirations first, and the character will come to you when it's ready to come to you. Instead of forcing it, instead of being like, okay, it says that, blah, 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 blah. Like, instead it's like, oh, I have this pattern, like, oh, I have this beautiful fabric. This would make an amazing whatever. I have cosplayed a couple of book characters and reached out to the authors, and they're not like huge, like they're well known, but not like, not like Stephen King. And it made them so happy. Like I went to a Renaissance festival and took a picture and sent it to Julia Quinn. And she was like, oh, you cosplayed one of my characters. I'm like, yeah, I mean, it just happened.
That's awesome.
Ready, and she wanted to be more. And so we did it. So I don't even remember what the original question was. I just started kind of what I do.
Your process on getting into original characters, but you just touched on something, and I know Brian has something to say about this too, because like the Sailor Pluto that he did with the original Rococo design, I mean, go ahead and say what you're going to say. Yeah, that was
me. Hi,
yep.
That was me. It was I did almost the same thing that you did. I was like, I kind of gathered a whole bunch of stuff for that, but I had a central image. It's actually an image that another cosplayer did of Pluto before, a version of that. And it's like, I know I can make this, but I want to do it in my own way, but it be that same type of style. And then all those things happened, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is and it turned out better than I could have made it. Like I'm actually planning to upgrade it even further for a bigger contest. So
we're going to do a whole episode on that.
Yeah, I'll be fun.
But no, I mean, when Elizabeth was talking about, she's got albums on her phone, I'm sitting there going, because I do the same thing. I'll start having ideas and I'll be like, okay, like for instance, well before they ever came out with the Hunger Games movies, right? I fell in love with the books, and I enjoy Katniss and all of that fun stuff, and I enjoy Effie. I mean, obviously, you guys saw what we did with the, yeah. So, but there is a character in the Hunger Games that I became overly obsessed with, and it was Tigress.
Yes.
And of course, the descriptor in there, it just, it's just feline features and having had all these surgeries and things. And I kept playing with it in my head, and I would Google search like tiger person and like all of these various things. And I would just take screenshots of whatever I found that I liked and organize them in albums. I think I did it for about 5 years. And I kept going, at some point, I'm going to make this thing. And, it was like all of but I was really scared too, because I tend to focus on this fits exactly what the interpretation should be kind of thing. I like to do screen accurate. I was known for that at one point in time. And so I held off. And that's actually going to be one of the projects I'm working on for next year now, finally.
It's funny, Mera, that you bring up Tigress, because for one of the charity organizations I work with, the Imperial Court, one of our other groups, I was helping them out, and I make all my costumes, like I make all my outfits for that. And it's very kind of royalty, LGBT royalty in a way, but right. It's all charity. They're all fake names, fake titles. But for the year that they were doing their quote unquote reign, I was Tigress for their year. They already had a Senna, but I was Tigress for their year.
That's awesome. So you talk about charities, and we were just talking about, the screen accurate, OC, that kind of thing. Sterling, you were talking about the fact that you started cosplaying as Cap to help kids with cancer. I am dying of curiosity, and I don't know that I've ever actually heard the story behind this. What made you decide to do it? Like, what inspired you to start making that character? And is there some story that explains why kids with cancer? I know that's probably more personal than I should get into, but I'm going to ask.
No, it's not. And in fact, I think I disappointed a lot of people when I tell them the story, because they're like, "Oh, I thought you were going to say your little sister, or your little brother, or something," and it's not quite that way. So I'll try to be as succinct as possible on the story. So go back to like 2013, and it was starting to my circle of friends was changing to a large group of people who do cosplay, and I started to get more and more interested in it, and hanging out with them. And they're like, "Hey, you look like Captain America. You should do a Captain America cosplay." And I'm like, I worked 2 jobs. Had no time. It was intriguing, but I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever get into it. And at that time, I was helping a friend with a fundraiser for Boston Children's Hospital Oncology, specifically. And Boston did a killer job at sending out kind of information packets on each of the kids that they were under treatment, and their backstories and their families and what they were going through. And I was just like, that's so messed up. Like, these 3-year-old children have done nothing to deserve what they're going through. I want to do more than just help my friend Callie with her fundraiser, but I don't know what to do. But I want to do more than just this. And so this was in the back of my head. So both of those things are in the back of my head at the same time. And then that's when I ran across that Route 29 Batman story that went viral back
yes.
then. Where this guy in his Lamborghini dressed as Batman would go up and down the East Coast, and it went viral because the cops pulled him over and they're all taking selfies with him on the side of the highway and all this. But I
of course
learned
they did.
about
of course
him.
They did.
His name was Lenny, wonderful, wonderful human being. And seeing that story, it clicked. Like several of you said, you get to a moment where something clicks. And I said, oh, wait, if Batman can do that, maybe Captain America can do this. And so it just launched at that point. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be able to help these kids more than I've been able to do. And I'm going to do it through cosplay. I'm going to get into cosplay. I've got to learn all this stuff because I had no background on any of it, no experience sewing or doing metalwork or leatherwork or all that stuff. And so I just dove right in. And through that process, of course, became Captain America, started doing hospital visits and doing fundraisers with local organizations in Colorado. And within a year or so, in working with those partner organizations, we realized there's a specific niche, a specific gap, if you will, for these families that have children going through cancer treatment, is basically to pay their bills.
Yeah.
And so we learned about this because we were like, well, maybe we can help them pay their medical bills, because maybe that's the thing. And working with these partners, they're like, no, primary, secondary insurance usually covers those, but what's not covered is Verizon. What's not covered is mortgage. What's not covered is the car payment, things like that.
Yep.
And so we said, that's where we're going to go. So each family, so we started a 501c3, each family gets $5,000 and we help them pay their bills.
Nice.
And we also show up as characters. We bring the Avengers or the Batman crew to their home or hospital, wherever they are, and kind of cheer up the kids at the same time. So we've been doing it like 10 years and we have $407,000 in bills paid for pediatric cancer fighting families now. So
that is
That
incredible.
is phenomenal.
I love
Wow.
on
Good
Instagram.
job, dude.
Like, just it gives me so much joy what you do. Like, you are just a delightful human being. I love the story. From you.
Every time I hear you
Cry.
talk, every time I hear you talk about it, I get goosebumps.
Yeah.
I mean, okay,
He's
I know
over here
you.
like, yeah, the story is kind of boring. We're over here like, where are my tissues? Please.
Right? I'm sitting here going, that's the least boring story I think I've heard. What do you think, John? I mean, you're the
Okay.
author.
I was going to ask, how do you raise the money? Like what do you do to get money? To be with like stuffed dollar bills in your shield, or or
that has happened. And in other places. We won't get into that, but I always jokingly tell everybody, whatever for the kids, like whatever.
Right?
no, but seriously, how do you
For
how
the
do you
children.
raise money? What do you do?
We're
to
having
raise-
a fundraiser on New Year's Eve, actually, and my vice chair of the board of directors is like, "Hey, can we auction off a date for you to make money for the charity?" I'm like, "Anything for the kids, like literally,
Yeah.
no problem."
Oh, that's
But anyway,
awesome.
to your point, John, I for better or worse, we raise money in the pop culture community, usually at conventions, like especially here in Colorado. We have a bunch of them here in Colorado, and then we go to conventions around the nation as well, and either have a booth there, a table there, or just networking to where we're just going around and have this shield. Sometimes there's a sign that says "Ask me how I fight pediatric cancer," that sort of thing, and then I have tons of these little cards that I give out, and that has worked out really, really well.
Cool.
It's just, but it's still, we need to do more because we're not Make-A-Wish, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars. So we're working on it.
So for everybody out there in cosplay land, author land that's listening to this, you want to make a difference, you want to help, where can they find it?
Go to capforkids.org, and that's spelled CAPFORKIDS.org. And just relevancy to this crew, the CAP is kind of a nod to Captain America, but it's also Cosplayers Against Pediatric Cancer. So it's an
I
acronym.
love it.
And so we have a whole bunch of fundraising cosplayers who will dress up and raise money and actually help out with the kids. And then we have a whole other slew of non-cosplay people that do administrative work for the charity. So
The
Well,
going
thank you for
out
asking.
into the hospitals and stuff like that, I've gotten to do that only a couple of times, but the reward you get out of it just from doing it is so huge. It's like
it's massive.
you don't realize how much you're impacting those children just by being there. It's such a cool experience.
I'm going to
So
stop you
rewarding.
for just a second because it's not just the children, it's also the families.
Absolutely.
Because I don't have children that have cancer, but I do have children that have spent a lot of time in the hospital over
Yep.
the last 20 years.
Mhm.
And we had wonderful crews that come in to the hospitals that they've been at. And it's always amazing to see not just the kids, but the parents, because the parents finally go, oh gosh, I'm seeing them smile. And when you're having to go through so much, watching your kids go through it is a nightmare nobody should ever have to go through. Not just the kids shouldn't have to go through it either, by the way. That is also a nightmare. But not being able to see your children have a smile on their face for months, sometimes years on end, because they are in life-shattering pain. These charities make a huge difference. And so anytime I can help, promote what you do, I will absolutely 100% do that, because we are all so thankful for you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
It's great because cosplay gives us that escape, right? And it helps put that escape out into the public, just like books act as their own escape, right? And so, I have to imagine, John, you probably do a lot with charity work too, right? Because most authors are involved in some level of it.
My company is a charity. No, I'm just kidding. I donate all my money to my company.
I was going to say a lot of authors really are their own charity, I think.
Well, I mean, here's an aspect. I did. I have at times, donated money to various causes, but I don't make a big deal out of it. All right, because unfortunately, sometimes I'm not a not-for-profit, and people accuse me of not me specifically, but not for-profit companies often get accused of, well, you're just using that we'll donate to the troops thing or whatever as a way to sell books. All right. So I do try and avoid it. If I do something like that with some of the profits from my company, I don't make a big deal out of it. Right. So, and you guys are doing cosplay for fun and for benefit. My authors are writing for me and I'm writing for myself to make money, obviously. Right. So it's a sticky situation. When people hear that a for-profit company is donating stuff, they're like, okay, well, how much did you give? Who'd you give it to? They're very demanding, and you're just trying to use, like, if I were to donate money and make a big deal about it, donating money to Kids for Cancer, you're just trying to use the kids, to sell your books, right? So we try and avoid that. I feel like I'm letting you down here on the podcast here.
No, I really want to say something, because this is one of the reasons why we created this show, right? Like, there is all this negativity out there in the world, and part of what we're here to do is knock that negativity down a notch and bring up a lot more positive.
Yeah. No,
I think it's more important for companies that donate to be recognized, no matter what their level of donation is. I think it's more important to see authors and say, your craft is important, you are valued, your work is valued, we love your work, and that's why we want to bring it into this world of cosplay more than it already is,
right,
and promote authors so that we can find more characters that inspire us to make more cool things, right?
No, I understand that. It's just when you're a startup in a small business, you have to be very careful about public perception and avoid some minefields, right? Honestly.
Yeah,
now,
of course.
That leads to a question I wanted to ask. A lot of the bigger series, like Star Wars with their 501st Legion and some of the other guys, and I'm not saying them specifically, how do you guys as cosplayers avoid well, you're not doing it right trap, right? You can just ignore it, but I know it's out there, right? In a good manner. Like, how do you stay positive and deal with things like that? Not
Did you guys pay him to ask that question? I'm just curious.
I didn't,
It's
but
a
I'm gonna
perfect
throw
question.
it to you, because Sterling, that's a beautiful question. I know you've heard some of it.
And again,
Oh my
I'm not trying
gosh.
to be negative.
No.
How do we avoid it? How do we make
Oh,
it
yeah.
positive? Yeah, absolutely. That's a very real thing within my organization, and I guess we should recognize, yes, that is a thing. And I work closely with the 501st garrisons in my area as
I'm
well.
not saying
We always meet up.
Yeah.
And there's definitely within organizations like that they have very strict policies around how screen accurate something has to be, because it's more commercial, even though they are a 501c3, they're a nonprofit, but there's still commercial implications with the owners of the IP, right? So they have certain rules they have to follow. In cosplay in general, I think, as Elizabeth said it well, whatever you want to wear, like, I think most of us cultivate that, and we spread that out throughout the community, that however you want to portray a character, it's totally cool. You do what you want. Same thing with our organization for our fundraising folks. If you want to gender bend, if you want to make something colorful where the author didn't create it colorful, like, you want to go to town, make something that looks cool, that inspires people, that people love. Now, we do get a little more strict when it comes to actually walking into the hospital, because the kids are quite picky. And so if we're actually walking into a hospital, we want to make the children believe that character from their favorite series is standing in front of them. And so we just we're very positive, cause positive, if you will, and just say, and if there's somebody who's not quite there, we work with them to kind of get their cosplay to the point to where, sure enough, they could walk into a hospital and the children absolutely believe that's Iron Man standing right there.
Yeah.
But in general, if folks are not quite to that level and not willing or not willing or able to get to that level, say, hey, it's totally cool, just come with us to our fundraisers, come with us some of these other events, and you'll be part of the thing, and you'll be actually helping a lot, and you can cosplay any way you want. I don't know if that answers the question.
Well,
Actually, I think that's a great answer. And I just have to say, there's also a whole movement, and all of us have been involved in it in one shape or the other, called Cosplay Your Way. And some really amazing guys that I'm hoping to have on a future episode run that. And, they have made huge strides in, ensuring inclusivity and acceptance. And really, it just comes down to everyone in the community taking it upon themselves to push that level of inclusivity. I mean, I think we all hit that cap, no pun intended. we all hit that cap when we're doing the official characters, because some of us have had official cosplay gigs where you had to look specifically like away, like the 501st and other things. But, I talked about it yesterday. One of my favorite characters I've ever done, while yes, I have done cosplay for, the evil mouse that shall not be named. One of my favorites was the, Library Bell, because I just got to interact with kids and hand out, books to kids and just enjoy time with them. And it did not matter that I wasn't wearing the corset that she wears. I was wearing a dress that was easier to bend in so I could breathe.
How dare you? You could breathe.
I know, right? God forbid anyone ever wear one of those princess dresses and not, anyway. But sorry, you were going to ask?
As a writer, sometimes we get fan critiques, shall we say, about, oh, that's not how you. The lights inside a Black Hawk helicopter are green, not red. Okay, come on, guys. And I've dealt with reenactors also, and they take the history aspect much more seriously sometimes, right? So, oh, you have the wrong button. It's from 1852 instead of 1857, right? Do you guys ever run into that kind of stuff?
Oh, welcome to historical cosplay. Go for it, Elizabeth.
I just comment here. I tell everybody I'm their angry cosplay auntie, and if anybody ever gives you crap, you come to me. It is actually my, I hate to use the word mission, but I'm going to be very firm here. We're here to have fun, and I think one of the things that I think is a barrier, and please, I don't mean to offend anybody, but when I say this, but cosplay has become a business, not just a financial construction business, but people trying to be content creators, people trying to win cosplay contests. It has gotten very competitive, which, take it or leave it, whatever. They are beating the fun out of it as far as I'm concerned. Also, we are talking a little bit about how we have a bit of a gatekeeping culture, and we have people who are very free with criticisms. Two, I'm going to bring up. One, I have a friend who did a mashup, Star Wars, and I think somebody from My Hero Academia. I don't completely understand it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Amazing. He looks amazing. I'll send you a picture, Mera. You'd love it. So he wears this to Dragon Con, right? And he's over in the Star Wars area hanging out with other Star Wars fans. Somebody walks up to him and he's like, cool costume, but you'll never get into the 501st with that. And my friend was just deflated like a balloon. And it's you could have just said, cool costume
and let the rest
stop there.
Yeah, just done.
Everybody wins. You know what I'm saying? And I was not there for that, but there was one I was here for. And you mentioned historical. This one, yes. Okay. I have a friend, and Victorian nautical Victorian nautical uniforms are her party jam. There is not a person on the earth who knows more than she does about it, right? So
I think I've seen some of her stuff. They're beautiful.
Yeah, her Master and Commander, right? It's the most breathtaking thing you've ever seen in your whole life, right? Mm-hmm. So she took the time to build a picture perfect reenactment Master and Commander Aubrey costume. It's the best thing you've ever seen. She spent months and months handcrafting this, and she did her research. When she didn't have to go out and buy the books about the military uniforms, she had them sitting there in her room by her bed, right? She has everything. It's perfect. So she wears it. We go to she made it for Dragon Con, but we wore it to a local con. We're walking around together, and this guy who's a Navy veteran of the United States, not Queen Victoria's Navy, mind you. We're talking about the United States, right? Former colony. So I get a little peppery when I think about watching.
Can I be pedantic? Master and Commander is set when King George III was king. So
okay.
I'm being that person. Go ahead.
I know between the centuries. It's just been a really long week. So if
You're fine. You're fine.
Oh, so what happened?
You are spot on. She keeps trying to get me to read them. I haven't gotten there yet. I'll get there. So anyway, so we go up and we chat with this man, and he's like, "Oh, that's Aubrey from Master and Commander, right?" And she's like, "Yeah." He was like, "You did a great job. It's a shame you didn't get the epaulets right." And
There's only one on one shoulder.
You what?
There's only at his rank. There should only be one on one shoulder. So.
She had them right. Is all I'm saying. Like,
yes.
Correct.
Right.
Like, I just kept going. Like, it was probably 10 minutes of him being like, "Oh yeah, I love that, blah 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 blah," and like, "You just did such a great job. It's just a shame you couldn't get that one thing right." And it just went, and you could just watch her deflating, and she was just like, it was the end of the day for her. Like, the rest of the day, she just couldn't get this interaction out of her head. And like, even still now, like, she'll bring it up every once in a while. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
There's no reason for that. We're not, yes, if you're in the SCA, if you're in the 501st, like, there are very specific organizations that your membership is based on having correct and appropriate.
Yeah.
Wandering around Chattanooga Comic-Con, like, if somebody is coming up and being like, "It's a shame that your ruffles aren't quite ruffly enough," that's unacceptable behavior. We're here to have fun. It should be fun for everyone.
Absolutely.
There's no reason to give any feedback but "Yas, queen."
Yes, exactly. I will just say this. I was a member, well, I'm still a member of the Costuming Society of America, and we have a whole historical wing, and we've got, historical touring museums that go out around the country and all of that fun stuff. And it's really cool stuff. And people come and they look and they analyze, and you will see costumers and cosplayers come and literally, because some of these are hands-on and you actually can flip hems and things to see how these things were done, which can make it a lot easier to replicate if you don't necessarily learn from books, right? So it's a great thing. But I also, and this is actually how Brian and I originally met, used to be the vice president, aka acting president of the International Costumers Guild, which has a historical masquerade that they do at every costume con. And that is definitely a competition where I would 100% expect to see, because you have to bring in documentation of every single thing that you have done that is historically accurate, right? Unless you're doing like a historical spin on things, and that goes all into the alternate history things, right? And then you get into the really neat, Netflix and other shows that have done these amazing cosplays, like, why did I just blank on the name? Elizabeth, help me.
Outlander?
Outlander's one, and that's beautiful stuff. But no, I was thinking of, it's
trying to read your mind.
It's not Downton Abbey. It's
Bridgerton?
Bridgerton. Thank you.
Wow, amazing.
Dum dum dum.
Well,
Never seen it, but I guessed.
Yes.
So.
Well,
no,
and
I've seen people do it with Bridgerton too. Well, Bridgerton isn't Regency costuming. Well, your comment isn't relevant. We're here to have fun. It's pretty. It's fun. It's colorful.
A lot of people just forget the second half of the word play. It's
exactly
there to have fun and everything. So like, I know, like I'm a part of one of those organizations with the 501st. I'm not in the 501st, but I'm one of the other ones, so the Sith Dynasty, where we're allowed to have original characters. It's one of the only ones of that group that has allowed it. And I don't know that I would do any of the other ones because of you have to be exact. Like my beard, my hair, I can't do the character I want to do because I can't.
Well, I was a singer. Like my bachelor's degree was actually in music, and I performed for quite some time. And well done. So it is very, if you listen to singers talk when other people are singing, it's like, oh, she's so flat, or she's got some air in her voice, or you know what I'm saying? Like, we've gotten so casual with criticism, and like we've kind of convinced ourselves that criticism is more relevant than encouragement. And I just think I don't actually think it is right now. I think that we are at the point where we all we need more dopamine. Like we're all we need
I want to take the happy that's in my books and put it into my costumes and go out and enjoy the happy with the other people that are enjoying the happy, doing the same thing with their books and their costumes. And if everybody has
makes them happy,
right.
There's a key word in there that you keep saying, happy.
And if there's criticism about it, it's not that I'm not unwilling to hear criticism. I'm absolutely happy to hear. Hey, I really think you probably should have gone with cerulean instead of baby blue. Okay, fine. I'm good with that. But like blue's my favorite color, so it's going to be blue no matter what. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's got their design choices.
And that's the thing. And that is one thing that I love about doing literary cosplays, especially literature that's not represented as much as things like Lord of the Rings, because you can do literally whatever you want to do, and there's no wrong answer, because like you can't say no to imagination. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But like there's power in being able to be like, you know what, I think that my princess should have a red dress and blah 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 blah. Cool, go for it.
Yep.
You're not wrong. You're perfectly right.
That's
exactly, because it's literally literary cosplay.
Right. One of the reasons I write science fiction is because it lends itself to imagination. You're not bound by historical rules, right? So again, I don't put too much description, but I would love for people to build on the fantasy or science fiction worlds that we made, because there aren't as many rules to things. And somebody says, oh, well, hey, I'm not from your unit, but I'm from a different mercenary unit from the 27th century. Cool. Go for it, man. As long as you don't violate the world of physics and you're, and just go for it. Right. Or even if you do, right. As a writer, I would love to see somebody even just say, I'm playing in your universe, or even come to me and say, because on social media as writers nowadays, we're easily approachable. Anybody can send us a message, right? Mm-hmm. Trust me, I do get those messages like, but and I get the 1-star reviews. Everybody hates those. I laugh at them, but I do. Doesn't know anything about how the chain of command in the military works. Okay, buddy, I was in there for 22 years, but yeah, whatever. I would love for cosplayers to reach out to me or to my authors on social media. And again, that is a great thing. I could have sent 1 million letters to Stephen King and asked how to cosplay, any of his characters, right? Like the gunslinger, right? I'm never going to hear back from Stephen King, right? But I
don't think you're right. Stephen King does respond to
he does. Okay?
Yeah, he does.
Okay, J.D. Salinger. I'm never going to hear from him, right? Okay.
Yeah, no.
Right.
Probably be weird kid, honestly.
Right.
Yeah.
But
at that point,
I'm pretty much any author that maintains a social media presence, you can reach out to them, and they'll probably respond to you if they're smart, right? And you can ask them, hey, what do you think of this idea? And they'll give you feedback, all right? They may even be grateful for you to help fill in for our fans. It builds on our universe, right? So if I had a chance for somebody to cosplay Britt O'Neill at Dragon Con, right? The redhead that everybody falls in love with, and it's tough as nails, but also very vulnerable, whatever, right? I would be happy because, hey, I have one of my characters at Dragon Con. Now, is it going to be perfect? No. Okay. Is she maybe going to be 60 years old, whereas my character's 20-something? Whatever. You're Britt O'Neill 40 years into the future. Hey, she survived and lived through the series, right? Obviously, right? Mm-hmm. I am perfectly happy with somebody filling that stuff in and creating their own version of what's going to be there, because that's just adding another chapter onto my world.
And it just tells your readers that you're going to keep going. And so they know you've got the staying power and they're going to keep buying. So it's a good thing.
Yeah. And it's free publicity, honestly, right?
Exactly.
Right. But, Sterling, when you play Captain America, you have something you have to kind of really nail it, right? As much as you can, right? Yep. That's one of the problems with working with an established market. But if you ever want to cosplay my main character from a regular Scout Team 1, nobody knows what he actually looks like. You just
okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Sounds like a good challenge. I like it.
And everybody's going to say, well, who are you? You'd be like,
Yeah.
Mom, this very obscure book that you never heard of, right?
Oh no, you should totally see his cross Captain America Green Lantern.
Ooh, that's so cool.
He's
That's so
really, really creative. And so like I love the mashups.
But
So
in
I'd
the
love to see
multiverse,
what he
that's
did
always
with that.
possible. Maybe somebody gave Cap a
Yeah.
ring, right?
It's true. It's very true.
possible.
You never know.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody's written fan fiction about it.
Mashups are my absolute jam. My
absolutely.
absolute favorite one that I've ever done. I actually took it to Dragon Con last year. It was my Sith Scar, the Star Wars Sith. That was so much fun. And just being able to take that imagination and combine two different genres is like just how do you do it? It's like
Scar from Lion King
yes,
as
as
Sith.
a Sith Lord.
Well,
Yep.
I mean, he kind of is. Right?
He's
Oh,
also
he was amazing.
Scar is also a Disney princess. So
Absolutely. So is Deadpool.
So am
So is
I.
Deadpool.
Deadpool is a Disney princess. No, I think
I'm also a Disney princess.
there you go. No, my husband and I love to. Sorry, what'd you say?
I said my favorite Disney princess, actually.
Yes. But my husband and I love to do mashups too. And I think honestly, we've done a ton of mashups over the years and we put several of them on the Dragon Con Masquerade stage. But I think our favorite one, even though the costumes did not turn out the way we wanted them to. But the cars, and keep in mind, my husband and I are set designers, prop makers, set makers, costumers. We do. If we can make it, we will make it. And so we turned all of these little Power Wheels into mashups of Mad Max cars mixed with Mario Kart. And so we were the Mad Max Mario Kart mashup family. And we spent so much time on the cars, we ran out of time on the costumes. And so the costumes were like, but the cars were amazing. So,
I'm gonna need one of those. I'm gonna need you to help me make one. I'm gonna come join you.
I can totally help you make those. They are so much fun. They are just so much fun. And it's great because it was a mobility accessible cosplay. And, we've got 2 kids in wheelchairs. So they didn't have to take their chairs out on stage. It was great. So, but anyway.
One of the best aspects I've ever seen of cosplay, like you were saying, Elizabeth, is the fun part of it, right? Mara, you've been at LibertyCon, and you've seen Karen running around with her plunger. Okay, she dresses up as a Dalek, and she has a plunger, and she runs around, and yes, she puts her plunger on bald guys' heads, and she, the old crotchety science fiction author, she runs up and plunges them in the ass and says, no, she doesn't shove a plunger up their ass, okay? She just hits them with the rubber part. Okay.
Exterminate.
That's a wrong type of extermination.
But she brings a smile to everybody's face.
Yes, she does.
So that is the best part of cosplay. You, like Steve, you bring a smile to kids' faces, and Karen's bringing smiles to crotchety old science fiction writers, right? But it's having a good time. It really is. And anything that I'm trying to provide entertainment with my books, and if it translates from my books that you're giving somebody, my fans, a version that helps them smile and have a good time and relate, I'm perfectly happy with that. And that's a great thing. So
see, now I have to go see if I can hunt down the picture that I have of her. Because when I was at LibertyCon, when she was running around in that costume, I had Anastasia on, and yes, I do a lot of Disney princesses, which is a very big problem for people that don't understand that non-binary people can be both princesses and also soldiers. But Karen was phenomenal because I came out and I have the Anastasia, crown on, and she comes with the plunger, and there's a picture somewhere that I now have to see if I can find and put in this video of the plunger behind the crown with the top. It's hysterical. But anyway.
You believe she's actually very shy?
I believe it. She and I have talked about that actually, because I mean, everybody that saw last night, or the episode that we recorded last night, which will actually be on a week before this episode, knows I'm actually an introvert. This is,
Me too.
Well, that's another thing. That gives you an opportunity to not be yourself and to be able to, okay, maybe my personal face I don't want to present to the crowd, but now I'm another person and I can get out there and do this. And the other thing I really admire, looking from the outside, is a sense of community. Like, there are, in the back room, there's all these people running around trying to add buttons to other people's costumes and stitch this and duct tape that, and that popped out, so you're going to get arrested if it shows, so let's tape it down.
Yep,
And
I've done that.
right. And just that sense of community that cosplayers have that maybe us writers don't. It's amazing, and it's everybody asks me where she is when I go to these conventions. Nobody wants to talk to me. They all want to talk to her, right? Because you all have such a powerful sense of community. I really admire that. It's amazing, and thank you for making her feel welcome with that.
Well, you know what? I first off, you're welcome, and your wife is always welcome, and so are you, and so is every author out there.
Loves her, not me. Okay, go on.
No, we love you too, John. We look, authors are amazing, and that's one of the reasons why we put this together, because you guys have an amazing community. Yes, you have your issues and there's lots of competition, but you have businesses to run. So you're competing for book sales and for people to read your books and to, buy the next one and to find a publisher to publish the next one. And, that's one of the reasons why I think there's a cross section between the author community and the cosplay community that's exceptionally important. You've got an entire reader base over here that is all open, accepted, inclusive, loves your work, loves creativity, wants to see what's coming next. And for us, it's not a competition between authors. It's, hey, I need more characters. Write some more so I can read some more.
Well, I've yet to see anybody cosplay any of my characters, so they're out there. Go for it.
Fun.
I do have
characters. I'm telling you this right now. I feel like for today.
Yep.
I do have a picture of Karen. Can I share it real quick?
Absolutely. Challenge accepted, by the way.
I know, right?
Elizabeth, you and I are going to end up doing this, I think. Challenge accepted.
There it is.
Yep. It's excellent, isn't it?
Yes.
Absolutely excellent.
That's
okay.
so fun.
Yes.
Now close the screen share. There you go. No, you're fine. No, I love that picture too. I think I was to the left as that picture was being taken. It's
in her
really
Lady
funny.
Godiva costume that was giving people heart attacks.
Yeah.
She actually got criticized for that on social media. So she dressed up in a white body stocking and had green leaves sewn over, parts. And people were screaming at her for being naked, which she was not. Okay.
I'm just going to say this. If we can have guys sitting in the middle of the floor completely naked, except for 3 leaves at a certain con in Atlanta that shall not be named in the Hyatt before 8 p.m. and nobody does anything about it. What she did was definitely much more classy, much more tasteful, and much less
risque
of criticism.
I think about the Doug trios, the Muscly Doug trios. That's where that's what I see it. I'm like, after 8 p.m., please. After 8 p.m. Think of the children.
I was more worried about the old guys having heart attacks, but it gives her such an outlet for her creativity, and I really appreciate that part of your community. That yes, authors are in competition. I don't know that you guys are, although you were talking, Elizabeth, about how it has become more competitive, but it just seems like such a family for you.
We're always in competition, but we should always be in competition with ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
The people who compete burn out a lot more quickly, though.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
It is very true.
Very true. Very true.
Very true.
I was at NASFIC in Buffalo a couple months ago, and there was a woman there who won the competition. Well, I say woman, I'm sorry. I'm not really sure. So, because it was under so much costume, right? But it was a gigantic, momentous costume that looked like it probably took hundreds of hours of work. And I'm like, how can that, it seems even too competitive, right? Like she was going all out just to win this costume because she couldn't keep it on for more than 5 minutes. It was just weighed so much. But is that like, I don't know. How do you guys feel about that kind of stuff?
I've been there and I've done that. So go ahead, Elizabeth.
Well, I mean, and I will say, number one, it's the way my brain works, because the more competitive I try to be with a costume, the less I engage with a costume. Like I did Titania last year for a competition, and I made a gown that really liked. And then I was like, no, it's not fairy enough. And I started adding fairy crap to it. I've only worn it once because by the time I was done with it, I just hated it. But then just the other day, I just like had this like moment, like this existential crisis, and I took my little like thread, ripper, and I just started pulling off like the fairy frou-frou stuff, and now it's a gown that I really love that I'm looking forward to wearing again. But I think that like the things that I did to it to make it more competitive were the things that pulled it away from being a dress that I loved. But yeah, I will say this, like talking about the competitive thing, there was this thing that happened. Apparently there's a big thing where they'll have like the big cosplay competitions at like C2E2, whatever. And there will be like big flashy ones that the audiences love or that the people who wear them love. And then they won't win. And there will just be this apparent like giant crisis where everybody's battling over it or whatever. So it was on Threads the other day, which is right before I got off Threads. I think it was part of my being like, this is too much for me. This is too many opinions. I want to cleanse my aura and not have this around. Mm-hmm. But apparently like one of the judges, like a lot of people were sending messages like, how dare you pick this person, blah, blah, blah. And the judge was like, hey, listen, like, it used to be that you could just have 3 skills to get through a competition. But like, if you don't have more than 3 skills, maybe you're not even like, maybe you shouldn't even be in this competition. Maybe you should do a masquerade or something. And I'm just watching these people be like, unless you have a laser cutter and this and that, then like, should you even be doing these, these construction competitions? And I'm like, y'all, why can't this just be fun?
It's interesting with one of our friends who has competed at C2E2 and has one of her costumes that did pretty well. I can't remember if it won needlework or something like that, but that was a number of years ago. If she took that out today, wouldn't even be in consideration, because there's not enough content. And it's like, I know myself, I'm at the point where I'm helping run contests now more, and I'm still on the very early level of the masters. And I'm gaining more skills as I learn, but like I'm now forcing myself to do those bigger contests because there's not as many of them. So like I can focus on one piece and really develop and make it as perfect as I want. But I also have like really, really grandiose ideas for things, like my butterfly effing trinket that I was working on recently before I lost about 40 pounds. And then I was like, well, I got to start over. And it's now sitting off to the side now again. I actually just sold it. So I'm like, nope, I can't. I'm going to start over from scratch.
Yeah. I mean, I'm at the opposite end, right? So I started actually cosplaying. I kept telling everybody 1996, and then we moved and we found the box.
95.
It was 95. I started in 95, right? And so without saying the name that I went by from 95 until 2009, I won a lot of contests, and I won a lot of big contests and international contests. And I have been running and judging now since 1999, and running almost exclusively for the last decade at least. And I'm burning out at that. Like I'm sitting here watching everybody else compete going, I have so many ideas. And one of the things when I retired from competing, my husband and I made a deal. I was never going to seriously compete again. So everything that we have ever made to put into contests at the one convention that we actually compete at has been tongue in cheek. This isn't meant to compete. It's supposed to be like the very beginner basic level. I don't even allow myself to use professional tools. Like I won't use my embroidery machine on stuff. I will hand stitch the embroidery, and I've burned out. I have burned out on running competitions. I have burned out on judging. I want to make again. And so that's what next year starts for me. And my husband's like, are you serious? And I'm going,
yeah,
I guess we'll see what C2E2 thinks.
I think that's one of the nice things, like even like with where I'm at right now, is that I am starting to learn more of the judging and running and helping backstage side of things, to where I'm not always in making mode constantly. So it doesn't, I'm not burning myself out on always doing something and having to have that constant source of dopamine always. I think that's where a lot of people run into it, is that they're constantly competing, and then they're not, maybe they win, maybe they don't, but some people focus on just the winning, and if they don't win consistently, then they're not good enough. And but that's not always the case. It's just what was there at that time.
So we're coming up to the end, but I do want to say real quickly, because I think this is one thing that the author community, the cosplay community all have in common. We all love to make. We love to make it on paper. We love to make it in person. We love to get that creativity out. That's what, writing and reading and, making costumes and cosplays is all about. It's all about the creativity. So, I think that's a common drive that we all have. And as creatives, I think we all have to support each other, even in our sub communities, and focus in on positivity and try to bring all sections of those sub communities up and hold everybody accountable for being the good in the world that we're trying to also create in the world. So that's just my thought. But that said, we're just about out of time at 3 minutes left. So I'm going to start with John and say, if you can tell us where our viewers can find you, find your products, or find your books, your authors, any products they may have. And then we're going to go to Elizabeth and then finish it up with Sterling.
Had so many more questions.
We'll bring you back for another episode.
Yeah, we will.
So you can go to Canon Publishing. That's 2 N's. All right, Canon as in like a cannon, because I'm a former artilleryman. .us, not .com. All right, canonpublishing.com or Canon Publishing on Facebook, and you can find all of our stuff there. We'll be at MarsCon in Virginia Beach, January 18th and 19th. Stop by, and we will have a very large presence at LibertyCon. So hopefully we'll see you guys there. All right. And
of course, MarsCon you can find at marscon.net. And Elizabeth, where can they find you?
I am, if you want to follow me on Instagram, I like big bustles.
I love it.
Yes. It's not much costuming stuff right now. It's mostly just ADHD memes, but that's just my life. I do some local cons. I'll be a guest at Jordan Con this year, actually. If you guys want to talk about like literary cosplay, that's a great literary con. Actually, I will be attending Liberty Con for the first time this year, so I'm excited about that. So if anybody goes to that, I will be your angry cosplay auntie and defend you for says it's a shame that you didn't. So come find me. I'd love to meet you.
I just followed.
Hooray! I'll follow you.
All right, Sterling.
And you can find me personally at Vorian Cosplay. That's VORIAN, all one word. And then you can find, of course, Cap for Kids at CAPFORKIDS.org. And we're on all the socials there as Cap for Kids. So thank you for having me on.
Awesome. Thank you guys all for joining us. Brian and I have, I think I'm saying this correctly, we've had a lot of fun.
We have had a lot of fun.
We have had a lot of fun.
We have.
One more. If anybody wants to cosplay any of my characters, please reach out to me. Friend me on Facebook. It's j.f.holmes. I'm easy to find. And I would love to see somebody wearing our stuff.
John.
So,
cool.
Gonna do one of your characters. It's gonna happen.
Okay. All right. Great Britt O'Neill.
We're now flashing all of his information on the screen so you can find him and cosplay him. We need to get him his own cosplay group, similar to the Weberverse that's got its own cosplay group. Let's make this happen, cosplayers.
Yep. And really quick, I want to just throw in that cosplayers, just get out there and try to contact these authors. You never know. You may not think that they will reach out. You'll be surprised. They may actually respond to you. So just take the chance.
And if you're afraid to reach out to them, reach out to us. We'll reach out to them for you and see if we can't make a connection. All right. So for today, thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks for taking a look. And we are defyingconventionalism.com. And Brian, if you want to say goodbye and take us home, baby.
All right. Well, that's been a wrap. Let's have a good night. Bye.